A set of documents in the newly released Paradise Papers leaks has shown that the private estate of UK's Prince Charles has invested millions of pounds in offshore funds and companies. Now, the investment includes financial backing to a forestry firm that lobbied to modify deals on climate change. The Paradise Papers also revealed that about £10 million of the private funds of Britain's Queen Elizabeth were placed in the Cayman Islands in Bermuda. Meanwhile, the latest effort to clamp down on tax evasion, the European Union has pushed for creating Europe's first ever blacklist of tax havens. The EU ministries are to draw up an official list of unwanted tax havens in December, whittling down an initial list of 92 countries finalized last year. Let's speak to Tony Gosling. He's an investigative journalist joining us via Skype from Bristol. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Gosling. Now, as far as the monarchy being knee-deep in this scandal, what do you make of that?
Well, Appleby, which is one of the companies that these leaks have come from, talks about itself as being part of the magic circle. Actually, this is a magic circle for some elite few, but misery for the rest of us, because it means that people are simply not paying the taxes that they owe. And it is pretty horrific to see the head of state here in Britain and her family very much involved here. Now, what we're seeing in these leaks is undisclosed portfolios. That is to say that this is vast amounts of money, many millions, of which the British taxpayer and the British public knew nothing about at all, largely because the Queen has got immunity from a lot of the laws that everyone else in the country has to go through things like we have to submit accounts for files and that sort of thing. She doesn't have to do that. So the sweatshop labour that her company's been invested in is absolutely disgusting to see. These are the sorts of practices that would be totally illegal in Britain, and yet she is investing in them and making money from them. Prince Charles, exactly the same sort of thing. There's a secret carbon trading company that he's making money from, whilst at the same time lobbying on the international scene for that very same carbon trading, which effectively is a dodge around climate change. It's a way of making money from climate change. So these people certainly shouldn't be doing this. But I'm going to give you another angle on this, a completely different angle, and that many of these tax havens, like the Isle of Man, Jersey, the Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands and Bermuda, the Queen is actually appointing officials to these crown dependencies. So the only person who is to blame for this goes right back to Buckingham Palace. And the reason people in Britain are so livid about this is because we've had last year to stump up an extra £370 million of taxpayers' money. That's the honest taxpayers, to help the refurbishment of Buckingham Palace. So this is really, I think, a horrific. This is the central point of this scandal, is the royal family, and we can't allow this kind of tax avoidance, or many would call it evasion, to carry on.
Right, Mr. Gosling, picking up on that point you've just made about how this is a systemic issue where the global or even the European financial system, as well as investment system and mechanisms, are such that these ultra-rich can get away with taking money from taxpayers.
It's a race to the bottom. That's what it is, because the most ruthless, unscrupulous people make more money. The honest ones slowly go down. They can't survive in that kind of competitive market where their competition are breaking the rules or bending them as much as they possibly can. The Conservative government that we've got at the moment, in 2015 in the election, David Cameron was campaigning, many people forget this, on an end the tax havens ticket. He was only in for a short period of time, so he wasn't able to do it. This year, when we had a general election, Theresa May had forgotten all about that. There was no mention of getting rid of these tax havens. I think really the spotlight from around the world needs to be on the British royal family and on Britain specifically to get these ended. Also, I'm afraid we can't rely on Theresa May in our democracy to do that, because she's running with no authority. She's running a minority government, effectively a zombie government here. So she's not going to make any changes. What with her husband running, Philip May, running a big Los Angeles investment firm either, who they have, I would imagine, have got money in some of these tax havens too. So that they are not going to change anything. We need international pressure and I think domestic pressure from within the opposition here in Britain, in the Labour Party, to once and for all nail this problem.
Okay, let's see how far that goes. It's Tony Gosling, investigative journalist, joining us via Skype from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, it's always a pleasure having you with us here on Press TV.